So let me bring in my next guest, who's been a vocal critic of the president and a vocal supporter of blue-collar Americans, especially those in his home state of Michigan. Joining me now is Academy Award-winning filmmaker Michael Moore. Thank you for being with me this evening, Michael. First of all, your reaction to this latest event, I guess I could call it, of the president going for a ride, apparently leaving Walter Reed, returning to Walter Reed. As Richard, Louis, and I've discussed certain options here, what do you think we're looking at as one that has studied and have dealt with looking at the various things this president has done over the last 3.5 years?
I want those doctors. If I'm ever in the hospital with a disease that could be fatal, I want those doctors so that I can leave the hospital bed at any time I want, get in an SUV, go to Shake Shack, whatever. This is madness. This is so insane to watch that footage. I know we're going to watch it now on a continuous loop for the next 48 hours, but that was just the craziest thing. There's no sound to it. Somebody should put some marching band music, like a parade music, under it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be glib about this, but we are not being told the truth. Zeke Emanuel was on this network earlier today saying they're lying. And over at CNN, Sanjay Gupta saying the same thing. They're hiding things from us. There's absolutely no truth being told. But those doctors, the doctors that just allowed this idiotic parade, they're doctors, yes, but Dr. Conley is a commander in the Navy, and Dr. Cooley is a colonel. He's Colonel Cooley. Colonel Cooley and Commander Conley.
So
they answer to their commander-in-chief.
Would the president be able to just walk out, order a motorcade, get this done without the doctor's permission? And if they permitted this, then why would they permit this if the president is still in some danger? Certainly, he was diagnosed being positive with coronavirus, and that requires isolation. Certainly, this is anything but isolation. He's not even showing.
Yes, it requires isolation for 14 days.
Correct.
This is the, yes, no, he doesn't need his doctor's permission. Like I said, his doctors work for him. He's their commander-in-chief. They are in the Navy. Everything they've said at the microphone has been dictated to them by him. They don't have a say in this. And that's my point, is that, yes, of course he can do whatever he wants, because he's always been doing that. Why would today be any different? But I don't want us to get off the focus of what's really going on here. And what I appreciate about your show today, you know, Reverend, you and I have talked about this before. I went to the seminary when I was a teenager to be a priest, Catholic priest. And you made it through, I didn't. But it's, you know, and I'm a pacifist, so I'm very much, I have a lot of compassion in me. I understand the teachings of you must love your enemy. You must do good to those who persecute you. But I have to say, and I've said it on this network about my compassion for him as a human being, even though I disagree with him politically. But we're beyond disagreeing politically. There's 209,000 dead people. Where is their voice? I want to speak for the dead here today on MSNBC. I want to speak for those who didn't have to die, but because of the decisions that this man made, and not reckless decisions, not a mistake. He knew. He told Bob Woodward back in February that this was airborne, that this is a killer. In March, this is the plague. He knew all of this, and then went out and told the American people it was a hoax. They didn't need to wear a mask. Ignore the advice of the doctors. Listen to me, Donald Trump. And by listening to him, it killed a lot of people. And I have to ask you, Reverend, just because I'm grappling with this as an issue of faith, is 50, 60 years ago, if Bull Connor, sheriff of Birmingham, Alabama, who organized and led the hosing and the beating and sicking the dogs on civil rights protesters, had he had a heart attack during that, while he was helping to beat the protesters and had to be taken away to the hospital with a heart attack, would we have said our thoughts and prayers are with Bull Connor today? If George Wallace, while he was standing in front of the door at the University of Alabama prohibiting black students from coming in to the University of Alabama, and all of a sudden he tripped and fell, or he was taken to the hospital because he had horrible migraines and chest pains, would you and I back then, if there had been cable news, would we have said we're praying for him, we're hoping for the best? I mean, we don't want him to die. We don't want anybody to die, obviously. But the fact that the national security issue that has been discussed on this network all weekend long, are we in danger because our commander-in-chief is in the hospital? We are in danger when he's out of the hospital. He has killed all these Americans. This is what the real danger is. The more he's in the hospital, I mean, I don't want him to be in pain. I don't want him to die, any of that. But the more he's separated from us, the safer we are.
Well, I think to answer your question, and I was trained in social justice. I did not go to seminary. I was already a boy preacher. But I was trained by people like Dr. William Jones to believe that we can address the sin without condemning or even condoning harm to the sinner. And I think the way that we are able to do so in this country is by voting. The problem that we have with that is that we don't see a lot of efforts to protect our vote, like right there in Michigan, like other places. Michael, stay right here for a moment. Let's go to NBC's Josh Letterman outside of Walter Reed Hospital.
Josh, ready to go. Yes, talk to him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's with you.
Do we have Josh?
Yeah, we had some really interesting developments just in the last few minutes here outside Walter Reed, where we were not expecting to see the president again today. And then the president tweeting a short video from inside Walter Reed, where he announced he was going to make a brief appearance to see his supporters who have been gathering throughout the day here at Walter Reed to show their support for the president and his recovery. The president in that video talking about how it's been a very interesting thing learning about COVID and the recovery process, and he's going to be letting people know about it. And then just a few minutes later, the president was visible as his motorcade briefly drove past the crowd here. The president able to be seen through the window. We should note the White House did not notify the press corps in advance that they were going to be making this trip. The president is now back in the suite of his hospital area, but we have to say this is clearly an attempt by the president to show that he's still doing well, to try to calm the country, as well as the markets, which are going to be opening tomorrow morning. The futures markets actually opening this evening in just a few minutes. The president clearly trying to show that he's here for his supporters. He had actually tweeted earlier in the day about how appreciative he was of all of these supporters who have gathered out here throughout the day, as well as yesterday. A clear indication from the president that he does not want to be perceived as sickly or as unable to show the strong support for his supporters that have become such a hallmark of the Trump presidency, as well as his re-election campaign.
All right, thank you. Let me go back to you, Michael Moore. You've heard that report. So this clearly, as I suspected and still suspect, we don't know definitely, is the president showing I'm all right and I'm in charge and trying to rally up his troops, his supporters, or at least try to make them feel all is fine. But I think you raised a question, is he doing this against doctors' advice? Certainly, he can overrule his doctors, and certainly they had to have knowledge. If you take whatever security measures that are pretty extensive for a president to move, this was not a last-minute decision. That had to be made with some kind of forewarning to those in the hospital, at least the administration of the hospital.
Yes, and I'm also raising the fact that it was just days ago at the debate that this man said that he would, again, reiterated, he will not give up power should he lose. He will not guarantee the peaceful transition of power. He said that this week. The week before, he told the people at the debate, he told the armed white supremacists to stand ready. That was Tuesday. This is Sunday. This is the man that can't wait to get back to work, I'm sure, so that he can get a nominee to the Supreme Court passed before he's defeated, to get her on the court. So why? So we can get rid of Obamacare and so that we can take away a woman's right to choose, which I guarantee you, taking away Obamacare, before Obamacare, the statistics, look it up, 50,000 Americans every year died for the simple reason they did not have health insurance. And tens of thousands of women died in back alley abortions when women didn't have control, the legal control over their own bodies. This is what this individual has been perpetrating. It's caused the deaths of thousands of Americans. He will cause the deaths of, 1,000 will die today of COVID because this man didn't do his job and ruthlessly, when he understood that it was a danger, he went out publicly and said that it wasn't. I think it's a law in most states that if you have HIV and you have sex with somebody and you do not tell them you have HIV, that's a crime. In some states, it has a life sentence because obviously you're putting a person at risk who doesn't know, who hasn't agreed to this. And that's exactly, those two guys driving in the front seat right now, I worry about them. I mean, this is absolute madness that we've allowed this man who is encouraging an armed civil insurrection over this election, can't wait to get back to work to suppress the vote. This is what we're up against here.
And the stack of Supreme Court that if they go forward, will vote about Affordable Care Act in the middle of a pandemic. Everyone that has
in the middle of a pandemic,
everyone that has COVID-19 now has a pre-existing condition.
He weaponized COVID-19, and like a person who takes a weapon into a church or a school and fires it, he has accidentally shot himself. Yeah. That's exactly what this has happened here. That by weaponizing COVID-19 and making it so that it grew and grew and grew, it came back to wound him. Now, I don't want to see him wounded. I don't want to see him die.
I certainly don't want to see anyone wounded, including him. But I certainly want to see.
But he is the reason he's in the hospital is because he brought this on himself. He helped to create the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation report on Friday that the single greatest reason as to why we had this massive spread in this country was because, they said it, because of Donald J. Trump and all the misinformation and lies. I'm going to have to leave it there. We're out of time, but thank you for Thank you. And don't forget, everybody, this is an incredible book. Read this. I'm halfway through, Al. This is a great book.
Well, thank you
for writing it.
I appreciate you doing that. Michael Moore.
I'm reading it right now.
Thank you. Up next.